Alright, so you want to be a crazy man like me and raise chickens in your garage. Well, this is kind of the run through and how to get it done. So either A, you have your chickens delivered to you, or you go to the hatchery and you get them in a box like this. Evidently they like vodka at the hatchery. I start my chicks on medicated. I know some people want to do 100% all natural. Go ahead and do that. I suggest that if you're gonna get your chicks from a local farmer, but I got mine from a hatchery and there's a lot of funky things that go on there. So I'm gonna give my guys the best start I can. So what I do is I have a couple of small trays. Not only do I take the chick start from the bag, but I actually grind it up. Some people put it in a food mill, but I can just squeeze it in my fingers and make it as small as I can. I'm not going to go through the whole process of grinding it up, of course, but then I'll take it and mesh it up on a paper towel. Of course, this will be inside of the brooder box, which I'll show you in just a second. So when you get them from whatever accommodation they come in, you'll take them out individually, and the first thing I do is I dip their little beaks in the water, and then I set them right on top of the food. And of course they're scared and wondering what the heck's going on, because that was quite the experience from A to B, and then now you're dumping their faces in water and forcing them to eat food, but hey, it all works out in the end. So this is the water dish I have and the food setup, and this is the first day or two, sometimes 3, it all depends on how your chicks react, and then I upgrade, and I still stay with the same water, but then I go to a slightly larger food bin, and I'll take you over to the brooder box, which is just a plastic bin. You can see my gals in here. Matter of fact, let me grab the water. And I like to set my water in the corner, of course, where they're currently hanging out. Go ahead, ladies, move out of the way. I like to set the water there in the corner. And then I have a heat lamp. Now, I have a very tall bin, but even with that 250 watt heat lamp, I raised it up even more. You see them like that? You like that? Nice cardboard boxes to raise that up. And you can kind of tell how close to keep your lamp, because if you have it too low, then your chicks will be way away from the light. If it's too high, then you'll have them all clustered right underneath it. You might want to adjust that. Now I have a very professional setup here. As you can see, it is just a light socket with a knot, and on my other brooder box, once I move them over there, I can actually drop the line down and up via just tying simple knots in the line. So let me grab the feeder here. I'll set this right in the middle. Now this gets to the point of I have 12 Cornish cross little egg layers. I bought 12 anticipating only really getting 10 at the final, because what I've experienced is they consume a rather large amount of food for such an incredibly small creature. And what I experienced with my first batch is one became impacted, and what that means is that she was eating food and then was pooping, and then the fecal matter coming out of the vent or the anus bunched up, and she wasn't able to poop, and she go ahead and fill in the blanks there for yourself. But so what I've worked into my daily practices is I check the water several times a day when they're this small, but going into day 4, day 5, day 6, it's only twice a day. But I give each little girl an inspection. I pick them up, I look at the back end. If they're crusting up at all, I just, they're little soft feathers, I just either pull it off. But if it's really bad, then you get a nice warm couple of paper towels and hold it on there, soften it up, and then help them do their thing. The Matter of fact, just yesterday, which was day 2 of having these little ladies, I actually had one that had a crop plug. And that happens one of 2 ways. Either A, she ate up you can see that I have sawdust in here, and I used large flake sawdust just so that they can't eat it. But of course, I mean, sawdust is sawdust. And either A, she got a piece of sawdust stuck in her crop when she was eating food, it plugged it and couldn't pass, or she had eaten so much food and hadn't drinking any water, and it just turned her crop into a tight knot. She was literally within a half hour of death when I found her, and then I spent pretty much all day yesterday with an eyedropper. And about at first, every 15 to 20 minutes, I forced little droplets of water into her beak. And of course, chickens, they really can't help themselves when you put the water dropper right next to their beak. They kind of they can't help themselves, they'll take it in. So 15-20 minutes, then it went to a half an hour, to 45 minutes, to an hour, and I put a little black dot on her head. You can see her right there. That she pulled through, which 90% of the time that was a death sentence. Another thing that I found was 3 weeks in, I had one die from eating herself to death. I mean, even with her having the water that she needed and everything else, she consumed. So this batch, I'm going to, at the end of week 2, I'm going to put them on a 12 and 12. So 12 hours of feed, 12 hours of feed off. And hopefully that will remedy that. And yeah, those are the three things. So like I said, I bought 12, and I'm not anticipating all 12 of them making it to the final date. They get crazy when they first get their first set of pin feathers in. They think they're eagles and they try to fly. I've had a batch 2 years ago where I had 2 with broken necks, and I can only imagine they went from one side of the box and just didn't break, and the box did. But that's my little brooder box. And then I stepped them up into my large brooder box. Like I said, I'm doing this all inside of my garage. So I constructed this, it's about 7.5 feet by 7.5 feet brooder box, large brooder box, all out of a very large pallet that I cut down. You can see it's just a simple wooden frame. I have a door on the front of it that I just hold on to with a bolt with a butterfly nut to keep that up during the day. It's one piece of plywood underneath with I believe it's 8mm plastic lining. I wouldn't go cheap on the plastic lining. You want to do pretty heavy, just simply because when you go to clean it out and you're using your rake or trowel or whatever you want to, you don't want to be able to easily go through the plastic. So I just recently butchered my last 8 girls, so you can see it's still,